Okay, I'm going to give you some information about what I believe is coming to the American workforce, coming to a theater near you, coming soon. So, this is what's going to play out. This is an opinion, this is conjecture, it's a theoretical hypothesis. It's a plausible argument. Just listen to me for a minute. In New York City, you can't go in there, you can't go in and get a pizza in a restaurant without a medical passport proving you've been vaccinated. You can't go in and buy a ham sandwich. I mean, you know. Now, New York City has like 10 million people. When you get, the people coming in and out to work, it's like 9 million people live there, 10 or 11 million people in that city at times. And it's legal. The mayor of New York has decreed this. No court in New York State has struck it down or even challenged it that I'm aware of. So the President of the United States, he wants everyone to get vaccinated. And what I believe is going to happen within the next week or two or 3 or 4 or however long it is, eventually, today is like October, I don't know, 2nd or 3rd, I can't even remember what day it is. I work 7 days a week and I lose track of the days. All I know is I've worked over 70 hours in the last 6 days. So I'm busy. But anyway, well, I just kind of know what to do every day as far as my jobs. I kind of lose track. But anyway, I think it's like the 2nd of October. Might be the 3rd. I don't know. I'll have to look somewhere. But so I'm guessing, this is my guess, in another week or 2 or 3 or maybe less, more or less, I don't know exactly, but what's going to happen is OSHA is going to spit out the requirement the president has requested of them. And then all the employers, it's not just going to be firemen and police and nurses and military people that either have to take it or lose their job. I mean, if they'll fire them, how much more just the average citizen in the private sector? When the federal government's already said, go ahead, you can do that. We'll back you. We're doing it for government workers. So I believe that, the government's not going to back down. It's going to double down. And the private sector is going to follow suit. A lot of them, Like there's already a lot of big major companies where if you don't have the vaccine and proof of it, a vaccine passport, they won't hire you. So this is probably going to go nationwide, and once OSHA spits out these new requirements, a lot of companies are just going to say, well, you can't work here anymore until you go get a shot. And everyone's income is going to be cut off immediately. They're not going to be allowed to go to work. Like millions of people all over the country, all at the same time. This is what I think they're going to do. I think they're going to pull the rug out from under people. They're not going to give them 30 days or 2 weeks or any of that. They're going to say from now on, till you go get your little proof of shot, you can't come back in here. People's income are going to be cut off. And then you're going to have millions of people all over the country rushing to go get the shot, or they can't work. And when it comes down to, well, I either get this shot or I become unemployed, people are going to take the shot. Unless they don't need the money. Like a lot of people think, well, I'm healthy, I don't need it, so I don't want it. And, some people have adverse side effects from these injections. So a lot of people just are more afraid of the shot than they are unemployment. But most people are more afraid of unemployment. If it comes right down to like, either I get this shot or I lose my job. People are going to take the shot over losing their job. I know I will, because I'm not afraid of the shot. Like, I don't think it's going to have any effect on me whatsoever. And the vaccine is not the mark. There is no one world government. There is no one world dictator who's demanding a mark on the whole planet. It is not in your right hand or forehead. It doesn't line up with the Bible. It's not the mark. I guarantee you that. Any preacher or Christian who's saying it's the mark is wrong. That's not true. It's not according to the Bible. So it's definitely not the mark. But, it does seem to be an infringement on our civil rights, certainly. But in any case, I don't think they're going to give us or give the non-vaccinated a whole lot of opportunity or time to go get a shot. They might, they may just say from now on, you either get this shot or you're all done. You can't come back till you get the shot. And, if they do it that way, it would be like punishment against the non-vaccinated, and it would light a fire under them to go do it right away. And it would be like the worst, most difficult, uncomfortable way to do it, instead of like giving them 30 days or whatever. And so they may very well do it that way intentionally, just to create a sense of urgency, or to punish those who've been reluctant to immediately submit. So this is my theory that this is quite possible. This may be the way they do it. So what you have to ask yourself is, is this really a health hazard to me? So it's definitely not the mark of the beast. It just doesn't line up with the Bible. But, some people have concerns about adverse health effects. Some people have died from these injections, and that's just a fact. That's not violating any kind of prohibited speech. I don't believe. People have died from the Johnson & Johnson, died of blood clots, and that's the one I'm going to get. I'm going to get the shot that kills you with a blood clot. Because it's safe and effective. But in any case, how many people have been killed with a blood clot from the Johnson & Johnson? Out of 14 million people that have taken it. How many? I don't know how many, but it may only be 10, 20, 30 people or something. It's a fraction of 1%. Extremely rare. So the odds of anything happening to you are extremely rare. And I'd say another thing. Jesus in Mark chapter 16 said that believers, if they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. Now, that doesn't mean you can intentionally go out and poison yourself and nothing will happen to you. I think what he was saying is people would try to poison Christians. And because God didn't want them to die at that time, doesn't mean you can never die of poison, but there would be times when people would try to poison Christians and nothing would happen to them, because God didn't want to let them die. He would supernaturally protect them, keep them alive, because they needed to spread the gospel. It just wasn't their time to go. That's how I apply that verse in Mark chapter 16, the signs of a believer. One of them is they shall drink, if they drink any deadly thing, it shall not harm them. So that's how I'm looking at this shot. I'm trusting God to keep me healthy. I don't think I need it to stay healthy. I'm extremely healthy. I've never been sick in 20 years. I don't get sick, very extremely rarely. Sometimes I'll get extremely sick, but it's very rare. I literally have had nothing but like a sniffle for 20 years. So I don't think I need it, but I need a job, that's for sure. And if you take something against your will because you don't want to be unemployed and homeless and have no rights, you can trust God that He'll keep you healthy. That's what I'm doing. I'm just going to go ahead and trust God to keep me healthy, and I don't think it will affect me in any way at all. Like, I expect to just stay healthy and continue to work, and it's something we have to do. Like, sometimes governments impose things against your will, but in order to have certain freedoms and rights, you have to comply with their rules. So just, a lot of people don't take this injection because they're afraid it might make them sick or kill them. Like, that's what they're afraid of. People have concerns. 25% of the medical healthcare workers don't want it. They have medical, and they're not stupid. They're not uneducated. If police and firefighters and nurses and doctors and military people are willing to lose their career, they have legitimate concerns and fears. But as a Christian, I just trust that God will keep me healthy. And the amount of people that have adverse health effects at this point are extremely rare, very low percentages. So the odds are highly in your favor. And if it's your time to go, it doesn't matter what you do. You're going to go meet Jesus. You're going to leave this earth. So till then, I think we should just trust God, and if sometimes God just keeps you healthy supernaturally. Like, the only reason I've been healthy for 20 years is God did that. Like, that's not me. I don't control my health and my immune system, and that has nothing to do with me. That's just God kept me healthy. And so you can trust God to keep you healthy. That's my opinion. This is all just opinion. You do whatever you think you should do based on your situation. But I'm going to just trust God to keep me healthy, because I'd prefer to keep working. And I don't believe the government's going to back down. The Supreme Court has not intervened, or any, the Supreme Court of the state of New York. The governor, the mayor of New York imposed all these demands, and that's it. Look, it hasn't been reversed or overturned or put a stay, an injunction or a stay on it or anything. It's just, this is how it's going to be, and nobody seems to be stopping it. And so I think, and the president's all for it. He's the most powerful political figure in the country. So when OSHA spits out all these things the president wants, some Republican governors will try to, their attorney generals will file some kind of legal motion to overturn it. And, some states might go with the Republican governor's perspective, or they might not. Some state courts, but eventually it'll probably go to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court will probably just kick it back to the states and say each governor has the choice how he feels he should apply this law that the president wants, and OSHA wants, and federal government wants, and so half the country is run by Democrats. They'll all impose all these draconian measures that New York City is experiencing. It'll go, and then, maybe some Republican states won't. But this could go on for weeks or months before, it's not allowed in certain Republican states, if that even happens. And in the meantime, people's income is cut off. They're not allowed to go to their workplace, and and then they end up getting replaced. Even if they get the shot, by the time they get the shot, they've already been replaced. Sorry, we don't need you anymore. Your position has been filled. So people could have the rug pulled out from under them economically. It's basically the point of this message. So you have to really grapple with, what is more important to me? Am I that afraid of getting some kind of negative health effects from this injection? Obviously, people aren't afraid of the germ, or they'd run out and get their, shot to be protected. So, most people really aren't afraid of the germ. They're just trying to get their rights back, or, trying to get some kind of rights. That's my opinion. So, we'll see if YouTube even lets me say all this. I mean, half the time I do messages, I don't know if I'm violating their, censorship. I don't think I am, but in any case, you should consider that, they may, when OSHA spits this out, millions of people may lose their jobs very swiftly. And then these people who didn't expect to lose their jobs so quickly will all be scrambling to get these injections because they don't want to lose their jobs. They were just holding out until it was, really, am I going to lose my job or not? I don't know. So let me just avoid it till then, and then your income's cut off. You could do it that way. Have they been doing what's most, comfortable and reasonable for the people? No. I don't think they're going to be all meek and mild and sweet and nice and accommodating. I don't believe that almost anyone will ever get a religious exemption. They're not going to recognize natural immunity. They're not going to, even though over 43 million people have had COVID and gotten over it. They're immune. They have natural immunity. But they're going to be forced to either get the shot or you don't work here. Because the federal government's for it. And I don't think the Supreme Court's going to overturn it. I don't think state courts are going to overturn it. And I think, employers are going to just do whatever the government wants because they don't want to get a bunch of fines, certainly, by violating any rules. They're going to just can all these employees. So, and then, if you try to go somewhere else to get a job, a lot of places are going to be like, well, if you don't have the shot, you can't work here. I don't want to get a fine for you not, for you working without having your vaccine passport. It's probably going to come to this. I don't think these measures are just going to all fade away. I think they're going to keep getting stronger and worse. And, now the state of California has imposed it on everyone in the school systems from 1 through 12. It's going to be like a vaccination along with all the other ones you get when you go to school. So I don't think it's going to, it's not going to die down. It's just going to keep doubling down. And so if you have to get this injection to keep your job, I assure you it is not the mark of the Antichrist. There is no one world government. It will be the United Nations someday, but right now each government has sovereignty over its own country. And there is no Antichrist. He might be alive today, but he's not in charge of all the governments of the world. There is no one world dictator. And the mark of the beast, this Antichrist, will be in the right hand or forehead. This is an injection in your arm. It does not apply. It is totally different. Some of these measures, like these type of measures will apply to the mark when it is imposed in the future, probably years from now. But then there'll probably be much stronger measures, But so if that's what's causing people a reluctance, then that's not something you need to be concerned about. So that's my perspective on all that, and I hope that's helpful. And I'm going to do it because I don't want to be unemployed. I've spent months sending emails out and applying to all kinds of places and getting no response. Just sending, applying online into cyberspace and couldn't find a job anywhere. The jobs I did find were terribly low paying. I couldn't even barely live. I ended up losing my home. That's what happened to me. So, I think it's far easier to just get a vaccination than to try to find another job. Especially when they're going to probably, prohibit anyone from even being hired who doesn't have it. Like, they'll probably take those measures too. They're just going to keep pushing this. All these, legal demands. Like, the government can just make up any kind of rules it wants. And so far, you don't see any court challenging what's going on in New York City. So I tend to think, at least in Democrat-controlled states, that will probably be the norm in the future, over the next weeks and months. So, things to consider, so you don't get caught flat-footed. They don't pull the rug out from under you. And this is how it will probably play out. That's just my opinion. I hope YouTube allows me to express my opinion. We'll see. I hope this is helpful to you, and God bless you. In Jesus' name, amen.